Joining us all the way from Poland, Bert Weiss, everybody.
Weird, right?
Yes. Weird. But you're there, and we can see you, and we can hear you. This is incredible. Technology is amazing.
Tommy and I were doing the test last night, and he's like, dude, it sounds like you're right in studio. He said, technology is amazing.
It's good.
It's very good.
It is good.
We got a slight delay going on, but I think that's totally acceptable under the circumstances. So for those that don't know, you left on Friday to head to the Poland-Ukraine border because you're helping Ukrainian refugees. And in the short amount of time you've been there, I can't wait to hear what you've already seen just from following you on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm, I was thinking, okay, how do I start this today without totally and completely depressing everybody? And there's really not a way to do that. There's really not. Maybe I'll have to tell you the really ugly stuff later. But yeah, like Kristen said, I've just been really touched by what I've seen on the news, like a lot of you guys, and thought, you know what, just donating money for whatever reason for me this time around just wasn't enough. I really wanted to get my hands dirty. So I looked for some organizations that are setting up camp here, and CARE, which is one of the biggest humanitarian organizations in the world, answered my email. I literally went cold calling because when you go on websites, they're not soliciting for hands or boots on the ground. They're really just, they really need money. But I went through about 20 different organizations before CARE hit me back and said, yeah, you want to be here? You got 2 hands, you got 2 legs. And I said, yeah, they're little, but they work. And
They're little.
they're little itty bitty legs, but they work. So yeah, on Friday, like Kristen said, I flew out of Atlanta, then went Amsterdam, Warsaw, and then got into a car and then came right here to the border. And you guys, the pictures that you see and the stories that you see on the news, they're certainly impactful. But when you see busloads of people come off of a bus that are scared, I think the one word I would use more than anything else is anguish in the adults' faces, every single one of them. And when you start talking to Ukrainians and you hear the stories of what's going on in Ukraine with the Russians, it is unbearably heartbreaking, man. And it has been an emotional roller coaster of a couple of days so far.
I was wondering if anybody had prepared you as best they could for what you're about to see. Because being in, you're not in the heat of the war zone, but you're on the outskirts of a war zone. So did you seek any advice from somebody in the military to how to mentally and emotionally prepare yourself for what you're going to see? Because you're going to see things that are going to change your life forever.
It's really funny that you said that, because as I was sending some stuff out on Instagram, I had a couple of people reach out to me and said that they've done humanitarian efforts like this before. And then when they come home, they have a bit of, the only thing they could describe was PTSD.
Makes sense.
I was trying to think today, okay, this is a real challenge for me today, even though this whole thing is not about me, is coming on here and trying to be fun with you guys for 4 hours when I've seen what I have for the last couple of days is really kind of a mind F. Woman comes off of the bus and she has a purse, a small purse. It might, 5x7 maybe. And you can feel the anguish in her words, and you can see it. And I'm behind the line feeding her, because I could be doing a whole bunch of different things here at any given time. One time I'm behind the food line. Another time I'm just getting ready for buses to come in between. So bringing water. I could be cleaning tables. I could be putting labels on bags. I could be making sure that the clothes are organized for refugees to take a look at. It runs the whole gamut. Anyway, so in this particular time, I was giving out pierogies, and Davi, we're going to have to talk about these later.
Oh my God.
Right? Because if you thought Polish pierogies were good in West Virginia and Pennsylvania, this is the real deal,
Stop
man.
it. No, the best ones I had are in St. Pete, Florida, but I got to get to my motherland and get some good, authentic ones.
I will say, anybody that I've talked to that's been working for CARE for 4 weeks, they're like, I am never eating a pierogi ever again, because that's what they've been eating for 4 straight weeks. Anyway, so just to give you kind of a snapshot of what it's like, this woman is trying to talk to me, and I'd say 80% of them don't speak English well. So I had somebody next to me telling me what was happening, and she was trying to tell me, she was showing me her purse. And she said that I've worked my entire life, and she looked like she might have been in her mid-50s or 60s. She said, I have been working since I was 10 years old, and everything I own now is in this purse.
Oh, heartbreaking.
And that just scratches the surface.
Yeah.
So I want to give a kid warning right now, because some of the stuff that I'm going to tell you that I'm seeing at the Ukraine-Poland border is really pretty graphic and tough to listen to. So if you're listening with kids in the car, here's your kid warning right here. I don't even know where to start. I've seen the pictures and I've seen the video on the news, and, I'm like you guys in a lot of cases where I'm not exactly sure what to believe when it comes to the media. I think any station that you watch has an agenda, so I'm not 100% sure what's real and what's not.
And that's coming from a man in the media.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're really at the bottom rung.
We are. We're still on the ladder, though.
Right. We're on the ladder, but the very bottom rung. So if you haven't been following along, I've just been really touched by what I saw in Ukraine, and I've had this kind of calling the last couple of months. I haven't been able to explain it correctly, but a voice saying that you have to go. Like, just giving money is not enough. So I decided to do it. So I flew into Poland, and I am helping out CARE at the Ukrainian-Poland border. And what I have been seeing on the news is not only accurate, but it's worse to see in person. And I want to give you guys a couple of examples of some of the horror that I am seeing. And try to put yourself in these situations. I think as Americans, maybe there could be a disconnect, because what's happening in Ukraine, I feel like we have this naive, maybe, security that this can't happen in our country. You know what? I mean, this is the United States of America. We're not going to have fighting here. And there's never going to be a time where we're nervous that we wake up and another country has invaded us and there is no United States of America on a map. Think about that. Looking at a map and it's the name of another country. It's really tough for Americans, I think, to understand or to empathize with that kind of war. But that's exactly what the Ukrainians are going through right now. And these men and women in Ukraine are fighting so hard so they have a country. What you're seeing about the Russians and the Russian soldiers are 100% truth. Now, here's some of the ugly stuff I'm going to tell you. When I first got there, there was a woman that got off of the bus, and she was telling one of the volunteers who was translating to me, because she was shaking, she was emotional. There are 12 Russian checkpoints that buses had to go through where she left from to the Ukrainian border. 12 checkpoints, right? With every checkpoint, Russian soldiers were pulling 13, 14, 15-year-old girls off of these buses, doing unspeakable things to them for 3 or 4 days, and then putting them either back on the bus or they kill them.
Dear God.
That is the reality of what's going on down here. I saw a woman who told us that she was in a convoy of 10 cars, all family and friends from her village. There were 10 cars. Russian soldiers stopped them at one checkpoint, let 8 of the cars through, and for whatever reason, killed everybody else in the other 2 cars. Women, men, old women, they didn't care. They just started shooting up the car. And these are stories that I'm constantly seeing. I saw a woman come off the bus the other day. She had one of those white gauze bandages over her eyes. She gets off of the bus and she's shaking. And she told us that she's lost everybody. The Russians had pulled her and her husband and her sister and their grandkids out of the car. No reason at all. Shot them all and then let her go. She is now alone trying to work her way up to Lithuania to get to her other daughter. And it is story after story after story like this. There are women that will not allow their kids to get off the bus at these checkpoints, and the kids are staying on the bus for 24 straight hours without going to the bathroom because the parents are nervous. Once the kids or they get off the bus, Russian soldiers will eliminate them for no reason. They are checking men. And if you have any tattoos on you that show any Ukrainian pride whatsoever, they immediately kill you. I've met another woman that was in one of those bunkers in Mariupol for weeks and weeks at a time and never saw any sunshine, didn't have any food, no water for days and days and days. So when they get to the border, when they finally get to us, you would think that that's their safe place, that there'd be some kind of relief. But I think when you're that tense for that long, that just getting over the border still doesn't signify like emotional freedom to you. And they still have to get on another bus and figure out where they're going. Some of them don't know anybody in Poland. They don't speak Polish. They just need to get out of Ukraine. So some of them are just getting on a bus and they have no idea where they're going to go.
This is just beyond heartbreaking. How are all the volunteers handling? I mean, obviously the focus is on them and what they've endured, but that's also heavy for everybody who's assisting.
So I was talking to one Polish volunteer who was listening to a woman's story. She was frantic. And when she left, I really wanted to know what was going on. And he said, I got to be honest with you. I've been doing this for 4 weeks. I don't even listen to the stories anymore because they're too heartbreaking. I have no idea what she just told me.
You do self-preservation in that moment. Mm-hmm. You have to.
There have been, the sliver of hope has been these volunteers are coming from all over the world. I met a woman from Hong Kong, Iceland, all over the world, and they are staying for weeks at a time to try to help out in the smallest of ways like I do. When I'm there, I was telling these guys earlier, I could be doing anything. I could be feeding people. I could be carrying water from pallets to sort of the front line. I'm leaning on my Taco Bell experience to clean off tables when people get off the bus and they have a clean place to eat. I'm putting labels on bags. I'm just trying to help any way I can. But the anguish, you guys, and the pain in the adults' eyes when they get off of this bus, or these buses, I should say, is something that I will never forget. And seeing the images on TV they just don't do it justice.
I'm sure. What can we do? Like, what can the Bert Show fam do?
You can find organizations to donate to. Like I said, I've been working with CARE, and they have a link that I've put up on my social media, and I think Cassie and Rebecca put up on thebertshow.com also, that will directly allow you to donate to the humanitarian effort in Ukraine. They have stations all over the world, but I can tell you that in the work that I'm doing here, they know exactly what they're doing with the money. They pull different organizations together to help out. Like T-Mobile, as soon as families get off the buses, T-Mobile is there and they're giving them SIM cards. It's the only way that they can communicate with family back home. So CARE has really, really touched me, and I have no problem promoting them and asking you guys if you have any extra cash to go ahead and give it to them.
Well, I mean, we're super proud of you, man. And I have no doubt this is going to have a lasting impact on you. And I think it's you have a platform. And I've said before, what's the point of having a voice if you're not going to use it for good? And I think you're going to be able to impact other people just by sharing your experience.
Yeah, and I guess in these small ways, they will have some kind of impact. It doesn't feel like enough. Yeah. Like I was at the border yesterday, and it was kind of a downtime when I first got there. And I'm like, where are all the buses? Where are all the people to help? So I started asking people, are you guys going into Ukraine? Do you need more hands in Lviv? So I had kind of a beat on going into Ukraine, but then all of these buses just started showing up from the west and the south where most of the fighting is going on now. So now I really kind of felt like, okay, I'm helping out, even if it's in small ways. Ravi?
You were saying, like, as a volunteer, you can see these little tiny slivers of hope here and there, but the refugees probably aren't seeing any of that. But you guys, like the volunteers, are that hope for them. So I hope you're able to, like, show that to them and give that to them, because sometimes you're just so down and you can't get that perspective to see those slivers of hope. So I hope you're able to give that to them.
You know the feeling like when you get off of a plane and you're insecure about where you are, where baggage claim is, and
you
you're
go
not
left,
really, you're
you
just
go
running.
right, yeah.
Right. Now think about that in another country. They get off of these buses, they have no idea where to go. So having this group of volunteers just to point them in the right direction and give them a pierogi or give them some chicken and some rice, and then help them with their luggage, which I've been doing a lot of, it really, I hope in some small way, when I'm hanging out with the kids and we're blowing bubbles at each other, I hope in some small way that it kind of penetrates their soul and they don't think everybody's an a-hole.
When the volunteers at CARE saw your buys and your tries, did they put you on luggage duty? They were like, that's the gym guy. Give him the bags.
I haven't seen anybody else doing that. I think I volunteered for that one myself.
All right, so to remind everybody, Bert has shared the CARE link on his social media. We've also shared it on the Bert Show's social media, and it's at thebertshow.com. But also, if you want to follow along with Bert on Instagram at BertShowBert, it really is an insight to how much help they need and how volunteers are aiding the Ukrainian refugees.
The Bert Show.